All right, here we go. Chapter 43, Gaining Access and Patient Extrication. All right, we're going to talk about planning ahead, sizing up the scene, gaining access, extrication, and specialized stabilization, equipment, extrication, and disentanglement techniques. EMTs Jay and Lana, somebody, arrive at the scene of a reported single vehicle collision to find an SUV resting on the driver's side with the windshield against a tree. What additional resources might Jay and Lana need?
Ladder.
Fire department, that's you. I'm all about the fire department. No, they do not.
It's all fire department.
Yep. What additional personal protective equipment will the EMTs need in this situation?
Safety vest.
What about gloves? Not PPE gloves, but gloves where it's not going to cut. Yeah, work gloves.
Are those in the ambulance?
Yes. We also have hard hats.
Yeah, I was about to say hard hat.
All right.
What about like turnout gear for firefighters or something?
Yeah, you ain't got all that. What actions must be taken before assessing patients inside the vehicle? Or accessing patients? Check the safety around the vehicle. What about the vehicle itself?
If it's about to catch on fire, smoke,
Okay.
leaking gas.
All right. Fall over on you. That's what. All right. Motor vehicle collisions are a common situation requiring rescue. The process includes scene size up, vehicle stabilization, gaining access, extrication, packaging, and moving the patient. Your primary role is patient care. Okay. So, things we need to consider when planning ahead. The information that we get from dispatch. Is the patient ill or injured? What was the mechanism of injury? What is the location of the incident? What time of day is it? What is the weather like? All right. Is there any report of entrapment? Is there a report of leaking fluids or spills? Any other potential hazards? Down power lines, unrestrained pets, stuff like that. All right, stay alert as you approach the scene. Your scene size up is going to start whenever you can visually put your eyes on that scene. All right, you need to survey from a safe distance. Scenes are dynamic, they're always changing. So scene size up is a continual process. All right, you need to do a 360-degree assessment. Look at the scene from all directions. Check out your hazards. Identify entrapped and or ejected patients. And identify the mechanism of injury. All right. Based on the initial information provided by the caller, the communications officer might have dispatched additional resources to the scene, such as police for traffic control and a crash investigator, or the fire department or rescue services for extrication. All right. Utility companies like Energy or Atmos for gas lines. All right. Hazardous material teams. If you are near a water source or a vehicle is in the water, they may send a water rescue. Full turnout gear, including a coat, a brightly colored and visible vest, bunker pants, and steel-toed boots, is required for personnel involved in the patient extrication process. Okay? You will not have full turnout gear on an ambulance, not a privately owned ambulance, at least. All right? Electrical lines, always assume down power lines are live and they will electrocute you. Stay away from vehicles in contact with power lines. You need to request assistance from the power company and advise patients to remain in their vehicle, okay? If they get out of the vehicle and that line is live, it will electrocute them, okay? All right. Control the flow of traffic. The safest method is to reroute traffic to a different road. If you cannot do that, get your police department, sheriff's department, state highway patrol to guide traffic through, okay? If traffic must be channeled around the scene, it should be routed at least 50 feet from the wrecked vehicles, Alright, this is where your flares go. Flares or cones should begin far enough from the scene so that a car can safely stop before it actually hits the scene, even if the driver did not notice the flares or cones from a distance. Okay? Use fire apparatus and other emergency responder vehicles as blockers to provide a safe zone for you to work. If the regular flow of traffic must be channeled around the scene, it should be routed at least how many feet from wrecked vehicles? 50. Alright, another consideration in vehicle positioning is substances leaking from a vehicle involved in a crash. Park the ambulance upwind to avoid being affected or overcome by potential hazardous fumes. Also park the ambulance uphill if a potential hazardous liquid is leaking from the vehicle so that the liquid will flow away from you. Many electrical systems in newer model vehicles can retain an electrical charge and remain active even when the battery is disconnected. Alright, so we need to keep that in mind, especially with all these new vehicles. Undeployed airbags. Alright, just because they are undeployed does not mean that they are not operational. They can still activate, and you will become a patient. Alright, deactivation is usually done by simply disconnecting the car's battery. This is something that the firefighters will usually take care of. In addition, such cylinders, when exposed to the heat created from fire conditions, can burst, becoming projectiles and throwing debris from the involved vehicles. Emergency responders have been injured as these cylinders explode and struck those around the vehicle. Okay. Ask bystanders if a patient walked away from the scene or if a passerby took a patient away before leaving the scene. A thorough search of the area for all victims must be conducted by emergency personnel. Always look inside all compartments of a vehicle and under seats. Children have been found thrown under a seat by the force of a crash. Victims of homicide or kidnapping have been found inside trunks of burned vehicles that were not checked before emergency responders departed the scene after car fires were extinguished. If it is necessary to disconnect the car battery, the engine compartment must be accessed. Cut or use a wrench to remove the negative battery cable first. The negative cable is black in color. If you decide to cut the cable, make 2 cuts. The first cut approximately 4 inches from the terminal and the second cut approximately 2 inches from the first. This creates a large enough gap in the cable that the cut ends cannot accidentally touch, re-energizing the electrical system. Remove the cable post last. If the positive cable is removed first, a spark can occur that could ignite acid fumes from the battery or gasoline spilled from the accident. Most incidents do not present access problems. If complex access is required, go ahead and get your additional resources on the way. First thing you want to do is check all your doors and windows. You can contact a neighbor to see if they have a key. Alright, gaining access. First of all, you want to inform the patient of what you're going to do. You need to wear your personal protective equipment. Stand alongside the window and strike the upper corner with a flashlight or similar tool. This is for a resident, y'all. You're not going to get into a vehicle with a flashlight. Alright? Clear the glass before accessing the window. If you must break a window, choose a room in which there are no patients and a window through which you can see what is located on the other side. Find the smallest and least expensive window that will still allow you access. Alright, vehicle information. Your main function is patient care. We always approach the vehicle from the front, okay, never from the side. If somebody's been in an MBC and you approach from the side, what are they automatically going to do? They're going to turn and look at you, okay? We want to prevent them from turning their head. Alright, begin by trying the doors and locks. If necessary, instruct the patient not to move while attempting to do these things. Alright, the quickest means to getting into a vehicle is by breaking a window. You want to wear your personal protective equipment. Tell the patient what you're going to do. If you are able, cover the patient with a blanket or a tarp. Use the window furthest away from the patient. And you're going to have to use a hammer or a spring-loaded punch. Okay? Most fire departments and police departments carry these. I even have a knife that's got, that I carry with me that's got that window punch on it. I don't know what the difference is, but it hits it a certain way. Cause you can go with a window with a baseball bat and not get nothing.
Like nobody cares if you're gonna pull something out of your purse to like bust the window in. You can't get in trouble.
I don't have a purse on an ambulance.
I don't know, remember you just said you had your own like, window punch thing.
Yeah, I keep it in my pocket.
Because it puts all that pressure in one position and it's a sharp point, it pops it.
Shatters, you can just break it
There's
through.
also the ones that basically like, well, you just walk on them.
I mean, like you can use something that was yours to do that kind of stuff, like it wasn't given to you by the ambulance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mine's got a window punch, it's got a knife, and then it has an actual seatbelt cutter. Yeah, it's made for EMS.
If I work at Dairy Queen, then why don't we bring mom a spatula? You know
It's a
what I
little
mean?
bit, this is a little bit different than Dairy Queen
I'm
here.
pretty sure they'll just bring your own window punch.
Alright, rescue personnel often carry a spring-loaded punch available at most hardware stores. This tool can easily be carried in a pocket or equipment holster. Placing the punch against the window in the lower corner of a tempered safety glass window, you can simply punch until the spring causes the tip to push through, or you pull back on the spring and suddenly release the spring for the tip to punch and break the glass. Carefully remove the broken glass, starting at the top and continuing until all has been removed. Broken correctly, although completely shattered, most tempered safety glass will remain in place even if it's not taped. Alright, your role in vehicle stability and patient extrication is that of patient care. Patient care always precedes removal from the vehicle unless delaying removal would endanger the life of the patient, EMS personnel, or other rescuers. You need to cooperate in every way possible with personnel who are working to disentangle the patient. After gaining safe access to the patient, provide the same care you would provide to any trauma patient. Provide spine motion restriction, including a cervical collar. Complete your primary assessment and provide critical interventions. Be sure you have or have called for sufficient personnel to help you provide proper care and protect the patient from hazards. You need to communicate with your patient and keep them informed of your actions and the actions of the team around them. This communication is necessary for the safety of both you and the patient. Before a forcible rescue is initiated, its effect on the patient must be analyzed. The usual approach is to rescue is to remove the vehicle from around the patient. However, when the condition of a patient or the scene dictates speed, the parts of the vehicle that allow for rapid extrication while protecting the patient's cervical spine should be removed first. You can use heavy tarps, blankets, or salvage cover to protect yourself, the patient, and others in this rescue attempt from flying glass and debris. Give the patient the opportunity to have some control over the process. When the rescue crew asks if you are ready for them to do a function such as removing the door, check with the patient also. Alright, asking if they are ready to have the door or a dash removed provides them with feelings of control. Vehicle stabilization is carried out by specialized personnel using equipment such as wood cribbing and wedges, step chocks, airbags, hydraulic tools, and rams, come-alongs, jacks, chains, and winches. This is not something you will normally find in your boo-boo bus. If step chocks are unavailable, a box crib with wedges can function in much the same manner. Alright, either procedure can keep the vehicle from rocking and rolling. If your vehicle is upside down, Use the step chocks or cribbing to immobilize the suspension. I'm sorry, right side up. Mine's upside down. And you can also remove the air from the tires, if you got time. A vehicle on its side is likely to roll onto its roof, thereby aggravating a patient's extensive injuries and posing a severe risk of injury to rescuers both in and around the vehicle. The first step in stabilizing this vehicle when the equipment is available is to attach a stabilizing pole, pulling device, cable, or chain from the undercarriage of the car to another vehicle or strong immovable object. Rescuers would then crib the length of the vehicle's side where it has contact with the ground. Every void between the ground and the vehicle should be filled with box cribbing and wedges to minimize movement. The 12 to 18 inch space between the top of the door frame along with the roof line and the ground should also be filled. When the airbags are inflated and one end of the vehicle begins to lift, the other end will settle into the box crib and the weight of the vehicle will be totally removed from the roof posts. So when we're extricating patients, our goal is to remove the vehicle from around the patient, okay? As you enter a vehicle and establish and maintain cervical spine motion restriction, you will do this as the rescue personnel are placing chocks under the wheels, okay? Rescue personnel begin to stabilize the vehicle by placing the chocks under the wheels. Most electrical hazards can be avoided by simply turning off the ignition. To thoroughly minimize all risk, the battery cables should be disconnected or cut. Always the negative terminal first and then the positive. This reduces the risk of post-crash fire or unexpected airbag deployment. Hydraulic spreaders are used to pop the rear doors. The post between the front and rear section of the passenger compartment or the B post should be cut. A strap or rope should be attached to the rear door. The cutter finishes the cut to the bottom of the B post. Another rescuer uses a hydraulic ram or spreader to rip open the doors. Keep in mind that the A post are the front post supporting the car roof, the B post are the middle post, and the C post are the rear post. That's a tongue twister. Next, the roof should be removed. The hydraulic cutters or a sawzall, which is a reciprocating saw, cut both the A and C post and the opposing side B post, and a glass cutting saw or sawzall cuts across the bottom of the windshield. During the cutting process, one of the rescuers must monitor and control the cutting from a vantage point inside the vehicle. Hydraulic cutters then cut the roof from the vehicle. It's kind of like they scalp it. What's called jacking the dash or performing a dash roll is important when a patient is trapped by the dashboard. A relief cut should be made where the rocker panel meets the bottom of the A post. Hydraulic spreaders can then be used to push the dash off the patient. Some hydraulic spreaders have a spreading force of more than 37,000 pounds, which is a lot, and can spread up to 40 inches. The whole purpose of cutting the vehicle from around the patient is to protect the patient from further injury of both the cervical spine and the lower spine. The proper way to remove an injured patient from a damaged vehicle is vertically or in a line with the spine. Having a patient, especially one complaining of pain, spin or rotate their body onto a backboard is unacceptable. These deployment systems might utilize high pressure storage gas cylinders to deploy the airbags, which can cause serious injuries to rescue personnel or patients. They are punctured by cutting tools. A rescuer can force or pop a door with a manual pry tool, hydraulic spreader, or air chisel. Remember to protect yourself and the patient from flying debris by covering yourself with a blanket during the procedure. If possible, place a solid object such as a spine board between the tool activity area and the patient. Although it is usually preferable to totally remove the roof from a damaged vehicle, occasionally you might the rescue crew might decide to just flap the roof, which is displacing the roof and windshield of the vehicle to facilitate patient movement. Because this procedure involves maneuvers close to the patient, you and the patient must be well protected. Alright, access to a patient can be gained by removing the rear window as well. The best way to extricate a patient is to cut the upper post of the vehicle and fold the roof down. Alright, Lamb looks for hazards and walks around the vehicle to get a look inside. She determines that they have 5 patients, 2 of whom appear to be unresponsive. Jay advises the incoming fire crew that they have a vehicle on its side with 5 occupants and contacts dispatch to request additional ambulances. Jay coordinates with the extrication crew, letting them know which patients are thought to be most critical. Together they decide on an approach to extrication that begins with stabilizing the vehicle. Once the crew gains access, Jay, wearing full turnout gear, assesses the patient and performs triage. They prioritize removal of patients, assigning each patient to a waiting ambulance. Alright, you might have questions about that.